Greetings everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Christopher Nolan Director Series that is being brought to you by both myself and Michael from the Red Chair Diaries channel. Each of us is going to be posting a video on one of Christopher Nolan's films on simultaneous days, and today we are doing Christopher Nolan's first feature-length film, which is called Following. I've come down to the basement of my apartment building for cool temperatures and cool lighting, so I'd like to get started here with this film, which was released originally in 1998 but never actually made it to any theaters here in Chicago where I lived. Sometime after Christopher Nolan became, well known, probably sometime after Insomnia came out, this film was released on DVD here and I got a chance to see it. Insomnia and Following are actually two Nolan films that I've only ever seen one time, so I took the time to review them both. And I realized that I remembered practically nothing about Following at all after I'd first seen it. However, I was very, very impressed upon viewing it the second time. The only thing that I remembered about the film itself is that, well, it was in black and white, and most of the actors were ones that I didn't know, and that it had 3 timelines in it concerning the same 3 characters, but the beginning to end storyline is mixed, chopped up. Something that I did actually with Sin City was to sort of chop it up by chapters and then play the first few chapters of one story, then the second few chapters of another story, and then the first few chapters of the third story, and then just kind of go back and forth like that until each of them had reached its end. Now with Following, of course, you're considered, it's concerned only with a very small group of characters, just 3 of them. They're played by Jeremy Theobald. He plays the main character, and he is the one that does the following. As it starts out, he's explaining to someone that he, as a means of sort of occupying his time and just looking to gather material for any writing he might want to do in the future, he starts following people at random. Just he'd pick a person out of, a busy intersection or street or something like that and just follow them to see where they go. He established some rules that would necessitate he wouldn't get any trouble for doing this by never following the same person more than once, and just making sure there was only strangers that he had no connection to. But he ends up breaking some of those rules, and that's where he gets into trouble. Now, he's the main character, of course, throughout the whole thing. So when you have the time jumping, you jump back and forth between the 3 segments of the story. They're easily distinguishable by his appearance. In the first, he's got long hair and he's sort of unshaven. In the second, he's got a short haircut and he's clean-shaven. And in the third, he has that same haircut and is clean-shaven, but he has some bruises and cuts on his face, which suggests that he's gotten into a scuffle of some kind. So anytime you see him, you know which part of the story you're watching. And I was a little worried, when I rewatched this movie, I'm like, well, how come I don't remember anything about what happens in this thing? Because all I remember is the 3 timelines, and I was able to tell them apart by how. I couldn't remember that. But as it turns out, it isn't difficult at all. And the pace of the movie really does keep your attention very well. The other main characters are Alex Haw. Alex Haw plays a character named Cobb, who coincidentally is it's the same name as the main character in Inception, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And then there's a woman who's played by Lucy Russell. And I haven't really seen any of these actors in other films, so I looked them up on IMDb. As it turns out, Lucy Russell's got a fairly decent career. Jeremy Theobald less so, but both of them played very small roles in Batman Begins. In particular, Lucy Russell was one of the individuals that Bruce Wayne has dinner in a fancy restaurant at in Batman Begins. She's the one who says about Batman, but she's put Falcone behind bars. So she is a woman who basically, Jeremy Theobald, the main character, who doesn't have his character doesn't have a name, meets this guy Cobb, who discovers that he has been following him and tells him, what I do is I like to break into people's apartments. I'll scope out their homes and their work, to see if they're going to be gone all day, and then I'll walk in and I'll take stuff, And Lucy Russell plays a woman whose home they break into at a certain point. Obviously, this is since Christopher Nolan is from England. This was shot basically in England, and it's black and white. It's very, very low budget, shot on 16mm. So the look of the movie is really low tech, and there's just a small number of characters to deal with here. Now I'd like to describe more about the story, but the thing of it is This film is the kind of film in which your idea of what's happening and where the story's going changes about every 10 minutes, significantly. So that makes it really complicated to talk about anything that's happening in the movie without either revealing something big or just flat out lying and saying this happens when in fact it's not. Alex Haw in particular, his character, Cobb, is a very, very slick guy, and this actor, he's really, really good in the part. I'm amazed that he hasn't gone on to do anything else at all, because this is his only film credit, which is too bad. He's very, very good at this character. He's a little intimidating, and he's very sure of himself, very smooth, so it's a really good performance by him. The other two, they're good as well, but Alex Haw really takes the cake as far as acting goes. As far as some of the behind-the-scenes guys, Christopher Nolan, he, in addition to writing the script and directing, he also shot the film himself. And when he did Memento in America, in the next few years, he ended up using a cinematographer named Wally Pfister, who has shot every single one of Nolan's films since then, and he won the Oscar for shooting Inception. Also, the score is done by David Julian, who also did scores for Memento and Insomnia, and then after that, Nolan went with Hans Zimmer, starting with Batman Begins. If you haven't seen this movie, I definitely recommend it. It's a really, really interesting and exciting film. Like I said, very, very low budget and small scale, just a very, very tiny amount of characters here, but it works great. And there isn't a moment that isn't interesting. I actually went back and rewatched the beginning again, just so I could see how certain elements were set up. Yeah, it's a really, really good movie, and it kept my attention every single minute, which is great. So one thing I can say about Christopher Nolan is that he really knows how to grab a hold of your attention and keep it throughout an entire movie. So there's my review of Following, and of course we're going to go with Memento next. In a few days. But in the meantime, of course, Michael is doing his own review of Following on his channel, Red Chair Diaries, and the link to that is below, so you can take a look at his as well. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!